What is going on, everybody? It is time for episode 133 of Truth Will Set You Free. Matt, are you okay?
Yeah.
I don't know. You look like you weren't breathing. If you're gonna wait till the end of my intro to breathe, you might die, sir. I'm not gonna lie.
I was excited.
I love your excitement. We've got Dave Brown in the house. We've got our special guest Matt Locke. Dave, what's going on in your world while we get people to join, hit the share button, all the good things?
We're just putting final touches on the Great American Summit. That's pretty much it. We've been a lot of focus on each and every day, putting the final stages together on that. You've been an integral part in helping all that happen because you're boots on the ground there in the area. So, which is very cool. Yeah. Go to greatamericansummit.com to learn more. It's going to be an awesome event. If you haven't seen the lineup so far, I highly encourage you to check out the website. We got Chad Prather, David Webb, Dr. Peter McCullough, Larry Broughton, a whole host of other amazing speakers. It's going to be a kick-ass event, and we would love to see you all there. We have some special announcements, definitely, hopefully, that we're going to be able to announce very soon that I think is going to really get everyone pretty much excited and even off the fence if you're on it and want to get there.
Get over the wall. Yeah.
Get over the wall.
You just mentioned
Stop
David
sitting
Webb.
on the sidelines.
Get off the sidelines. You mentioned David Webb. We've officially announced him. Matt is going to be doing part of a media panel. We're still working on that. We've got Chado Jackson. So our speaker lineup is pretty stacked. Most of it is listed on the website. We are working on one more. We'll see if that happens. If it does, you should have your tickets before then. It's going to be a great event. So make sure you go to greatamericansummit.com. Use GAS23 for 10% off. Only the first 100. I think 200 people get to go to the Dr. McCullough event on Thursday night. The first 200 people to buy tickets or a VIP or a Patriot Pass. But we're still figuring out 50 to 100 get the signed copy of Dr. Peter McCullough's book. So you got to buy your ticket now. I'll have that on the bottom link. Matt, you've been a busy man. What have you been up to, my friend?
Oh, my goodness. It's like I went through a crazy spell in my life. Like nothing would go right, and then everything blew up. It's like the jet fuel got thrown on the fire, and here we are. So back doing the podcast, Voice of the Working Man. Executive producer of Grant Stinsfield's show over at America First News, and waiting on a launch for Patriot Propaganda Apparel, which is my exclusive sponsor of the program. So doing all kinds of crazy things. It's been wild, and lots of stuff coming. I mean, dude, somebody's got to take America back, right? Somebody got to fight for her.
So yeah, tell us people a little bit more about America First News, because that's kind of the up and coming brand. It's actually out of North Texas. What is America First News?
So America First News is going to be the Netflix of conservative content. So it's going to be a on-demand channel where you will be able to go. And I know Dr. Peter McCullough is going to do a show over there. Grant's doing a show over there right now. They're doing several shows. So all of that stuff is happening, but they're growing exponentially. But they're going to be the Netflix of good, clean, family, Christian, conservative networking with children's shows, reality shows, movies, that kind of stuff that we're very sorely missing in America today.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of good things I'm hearing out of that network, and they've got, it always takes dollar bills. And fortunately, that network's got some backing behind it. And right now, when we look at media, it takes to fight evil, you need money. And fortunately, you guys have some great names backing that stuff and all the things coming from it. I am going to take a second. First off, I was hoping a little bit more people would join. So keep hitting the like. Smash the like button over and over again if you're on your phone. Notice, we have lulls and algorithms. I noticed my last couple videos have not had the usual viewers, so smash the thumbs up, guys. Do me that favor. I do want to mention, I very rarely, as you guys know, we very rarely share GoFundMe's for individuals. I'm actually trying to pull it up right now, but it's struggling. There it is. Okay. We had I would say a street light or family member of ours that unfortunately passed away. I did not even know it happened in March of this year. She got hit by a vehicle while she was dropping her grandkids off. The person that hit her did not have a driver's license and did not have insurance. So we can say whatever we want about that, but her family had to pay for her funeral expenses, and she was kind of the matriarch of the family, I believe it sounds like, and her son and family are struggling a lot. So I'm going to go ahead and put the GoFundMe. I know that they've got a ton of expenses. So and again, you guys know that I do not typically share because everybody's always reached out about different stuff. This is a little bit different. And you can even see that she always was wearing Cashley Kelly gear whenever she could. She was buying stuff from us. She was supporting our cause. She was sharing our videos. And she was her and I had spent time messaging before. So I put the GoFundMe in the link. And I know a lot of you guys have had interchanges with her. I saw she was mutual friends with about 50 of the streetlights. And whenever I do get to talk to Cash, which he's 6 days overdue on when he's allowed to make phone calls, it's very weird. He hasn't talked to Erica either, but we do know he's okay. I'm gonna let him know about that. So that's the unfortunate part of the day that we got to talk about. But while we do the countdown timer, I ask you guys to share this video, keep liking the video, keep commenting where you're from. Let's trick that algorithm. Let's get the party started. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for truth. We'll set you free. That's right, ladies and gents. We are talking about who's going to be running for president as of right now in this moment, who is up on the Republican and Democrat side. We're going to talk a little bit about Newsom's love affair or whatever he's got with Desantis, the moral decay of our society, including talking about what just happened in Louisville, just the random acts of violence we see on a daily basis. We're going to talk a little bit more about CBDC, the central bank digital currency that has, if anybody wants to know what we believe maybe all the distractions have been distracting us from, that might be it. CBDC, aka Fed Now. We're also going to be talking how China has warned Elon Musk. They gave him the big warning. You don't want to know what's going to happen to Tesla if you keep promoting the lab leak theory. That's where we're going to go. We're going to start there and we're going to see where it takes us. We're going to keep this to about an hour, even though, as you guys know, Matt, Dave, and I do like to talk. All right. No, get out of here. Dave, all right, let's start with, because I know you've got some presidential candidates you like. We're going to start there. I'm not going to play the Newsom clip just yet. So, as you know, Vivek is one of the candidates that's announced on the Republican side. So I'll let you talk a little bit about him. I know you're a big fan.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know a whole lot about him. I mean, I've only probably recently started kind of following him and paying attention. I mean, I've seen him a few times on some of the news channels, as a guest, giving his insight and input on things. But he is, to me, probably one of the most educated and smartest candidates that we've had run for president probably in my lifetime. And I really enjoy what he says. I enjoy listening to him. He seems to be very much like what I think the majority of America is, middle of the road, down the middle, like common sense. Oh, there's the dogs. Yeah. A common sense dude who has good values, good morals, who cares about the fabric of our nation, who his flag is all about, our founding principles and values. And he talks about that. And honestly, it's really refreshing. Like, he stands up for what's right. He knows what he stands for, knows what he stands against. He doesn't play the attack game, bringing other candidates, down and attacking them. He stands for what I think most of us stand for, and it's really refreshing to see. And so, yeah, I'm a big fan of his. And if he ends up being the nominee, which I don't think he will be, right, he'll have my vote. That's for sure.
I like Vivek. I think because he's called himself a Trump 2.0, and I hate to play some of the identity politics behind it, but it does help that he is not the standard white guy. He's
an outsider, right?
He's an outsider with a lot of money, also a decent amount of money himself. But he's incredibly interesting to talk to. He's very young. I think this is just the beginning for him. I believe he's 37 now. He'd be 39 at inauguration. What do you think, Matt, of Vivek?
Well, he's doing what every conservative should do. And we talk about this down in Texas. I know a lot of folks at the True Texas Project, the Republicans for National Renewal, for these type folks and these grassroots organizations. We've got so many Republicans who really don't want to fight, who don't want to be conservative. Right. They want to go along to get along, all that stuff. Vivek, you know, I like what he's saying. And he's not playing both sides of it, right? He's like, look, this whole thing they're doing to Trump is ridiculous. Yeah. And you should call it out for that. Not that I don't want to beat Donald Trump, but they could do it to you. They can do it to him. I'm going to call it out. But people, you know, you get politics, and you and I both know, Anthony, that when you get these consultants on the Republican side who will say, well, you've got to be this candidate. You've got to do this. You can't piss off this group. You can't piss off that group. You can't do this. How about you just tell the truth? Tell us who you are, what you stand for, and I don't give two craps what color your skin is.
Right. No, absolutely. So when it comes, I mean, I like Vivek. I think Vivek is the answer to Liz Cheney, to be honest. And Liz Cheney is a potential presidential candidate, even though she's got zero chance. Her role as a Republican nominee or an opportunity is to sabotage today's Republicans. That's going to be her job. So Vivek, I think, knows that he has no chance against somebody like a Trump or even a Desantis, but I think he's going to be there to show the positive side of the GOP. So I think he's a positive plant in one way. So I'm going to go ahead and flip through a couple of the people that are currently rumored to be running or about to announce. And we could just quickly go through Glenn Youngkin. You think he's got a chance, or do you think he'll even announce?
Zero.
Dave? Glenn Young? Yeah, look, I mean, these people need to be real and honest with themselves and take a good look in the mirror. There's all these candidates come out all the time, and I know they're vying for position and maybe getting a cabinet spot, blah, 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 but they have zero shot. And all they're doing is wasting a boatload of money, wasting people's time and energy. And so Youngkin, great governor, zero shot.
Yeah, I think it's just like what I think we'll see on the Democrat side. I think some of these people are vying for cabinet positions, or potentially the vice presidential race is wide open right now, which is, again,
no, it's not.
Something that will be interesting to watch as we go. And this might be the first time somebody that, well, I don't know, it's the first time, a rare occasion where somebody that does not run for president actually gets the vice presidential nod. It might be a complete outsider. It could be somebody across the aisle. I still see somebody like a Tulsi Gabbard being an interesting pick for a Republican, to be totally honest. So we'll see on that one. From the Democrat side, Gretchen Whitmer is rumored at this point, which the fact that she would consider running makes me feel like that whole stage situation of her, you know, getting attacked or the plot to kidnap her makes it seem like that might have been set up for that purpose. But I don't know. I don't think she runs personally on the Democrat side. Either of you guys?
No. Biden's their guy. Biden's their guy. He's the puppet. As long as that dude is on 2 feet and can be manipulated, he's the candidate. Seriously. I mean, they're not going to run. I would be shocked to see many Democrats try to compete against him, just for the fact that, you know, the people in power don't need a Gavin Newsom. They don't need a Gretchen Whitmer. They don't need that face. They like what's going on. Look what they've done to America in the last 2.5 years.
Do you think that I don't know. I don't fully agree with that. I do think he's going to run now, and we'll obviously consider him as one of the main people, especially since during the Easter egg hunt, he all but said he was not running with Easter. That was the weirdest.
Well, did you hear what he said? He said he'd like to be part of the Easter egg thing for the next 6 years.
Right.
Interesting.
Right.
And then he went, the way that he said it, I mean, he is an old man that can only eat pudding. It is an app. If I had Casey here, I'd be like, Casey, pull up that clip, which might I add, sorry, I forgot to tell you guys, Casey does not have a camera on his computer for this week. So that's why he is not able to join. So that's why we don't have Casey.
So look, anything is possible, right? I personally don't think this guy is going to end up running. And part of that, if he was in his 70s, I'd say absolutely. And if he didn't have all of these issues that we clearly see on a day-to-day basis, but like, he's not going to get any better between now and then. And he's 80 years old. Like, he could likely really get worse. He could fall down on his bike again. Like, who knows, right?
Break a hip, right?
Yeah.
Break a hip and be all done.
I just don't see it.
I think Elizabeth Warren does not have a shot at winning, but I do think she will run. She loves the spotlight, and she's got no other purpose at this point.
She'll get the American Indian vote, so that's good.
Well, yeah, the faux American Indian vote, that one or two that identifies with her.
Whatever article that I brought up said Bernie Sanders is still considering he's 81 right now.
Why not? I mean, dude, he's worked for the government his entire damn life. Why not be president? Just go for it, Bernie. Go. There's Bernie bros out there.
I'm gonna ask an interesting question. Do you think we'd be in a better place? I mean, Bernie would have never been able to have beaten Trump, but say in this weird world, do you think Bernie would have been the better candidate to actually be president than Biden right now if we had to choose between those two Democrats?
No.
Do you think what?
Do you, if take Trump out of the equation and say Bernie would have beaten Biden and been able to manage to beat Trump, do you think that we'd be in a better place as a country with Bernie than we would with Biden right now?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, how could you get any worse than what we currently have? I mean, Bernie. I know he's a communist socialist, but aren't they all at this point?
Yeah, that's kind of where
I think Bernie would have went quicker. Now, I'll have a theory, and Dave, you're probably not wrong. It might be better. But I think Bernie is an outright socialist and he would have went along with the people behind the scene faster than Joe Biden, who just doesn't know what's going on. So I think his addled, brain has actually saved us a little bit, Biden, because he just doesn't understand. So they have to take him slower because he has to be the face.
Interesting perspective.
It's going slower. With Bernie Sanders, I think it would have been on turbo. It'd have been turbocharged.
Yeah, he might have actually fought to get things done the wrong direction. So you might, I don't know. I was actually with Dave. I was like, I think at least he's a better human, maybe. But now you're right. He probably would have got things done to reverse course. I mean, gas would be $37 a gallon.
We'd be Cuba right now. If Bernie Sanders was president, we'd be Cuba right now.
You know what's interesting? I forgot I had this. I'm going to post it later. A year ago today is when there was that whole campaign where they were telling people what to do to slash tires of SUVs and leave a note. And it was a real thing. And it got left up on Twitter pre-Elon Musk, where they were essentially giving the guide to tell people that they don't need gas guzzling SUVs. And they were telling people to flatten tires. That's the Bernie Sanders mentality. So I think that would have been a little bit dangerous. Now this goes to show you that this was actually a People magazine article that did the list, but it was a comprehensive list. But they actually gave a chance to AOC running. She'll be 35 3 months before, the inauguration. I don't think there's a chance that she runs. I think there might be later on in life, which is even more depressing. But do you think there's a chance she runs in 2024?
Yes.
Really?
Well, you think about where we're at, and I want to jump in here because we're living in a time and a place where millennials and Gen Zers, they just don't know any better, right? She's a face. She's pretty. She's all over social media. She espouses all of the right things. She wants to be in a higher position, and she'd be a lot easier to control than I think even a Joe Biden. To be quite honest with you, she's just that personality. Let me go along to get along, and I get to be the president, and here we are. I could very well see her running.
This is like the United States. Yeah, I don't think she runs on this one.
Yeah, I don't see her ever running or ever being president. I think she has a hardcore base, like 25% of liberals that absolutely would fawn over her. But I think the rest of us actually think she's just a crazy lunatic who doesn't even deserve to be in the position that she's in.
I think she's lost favor with the crazy left in a lot of ways too. We've seen people at her events go ham on her for calling her the fraud.
Hey, tax the rich. Come on. Tax the rich.
Tax the rich. And here's my $72 sweater made in China that cost me $21.
She makes no profit in a capitalist system. None at all.
So we're going to talk about Robert Kennedy there?
Yeah, we're getting there because I should be flying through these. This is one
and ahead of myself here.
Yeah, I know. I think this will happen. I think Kristi Noem might run just for the purposes of trying to throw her name in the VP hat. I think Kristi Noem that from South Dakota may run, and I really like Kristi Noem, to be very clear. So. All right, I'm going to skip through Gavin Newsom because we're going to come back to Mussolini. Amy Klobuchar, she's a steaming pile of garbage. She's as bad as it gets. Josh Hawley, I really like in the future. I think Josh Hawley could be a good contender in the future. More of the Desantis era, unless Desantis runs now. Kamala Harris.
But there's hold on a second. Let's not go over that too quickly, because if you look at the Republican bench, it's pretty good. I mean, you just talked about Josh Hawley. You talked about Mike Lee. We've got Ron DeSantis in there. I mean, we've got some players.
Oh, I agree.
In the minor leagues that are young, that are very conservative and could step up.
Yeah.
Tim Scott. Let's not forget about Tim Scott.
Tim's on the list. Now, from the Democrat side, they mentioned Kamala Harris, but she's so poorly liked. I mean, if say Biden doesn't run, I guess she has to run if Biden decides to not enter. She has to, but she has no chance of winning. I think Michelle Obama would have a better chance than her.
Look, I'm going to jump in. I think her political career is basically over.
Yeah,
I'd be surprised if Biden doesn't even pivot and goes with someone else if he runs again. She couldn't even. I mean, she had the one first debate, right, where she basically wiped the floor with Biden, and then that was it. She just collapsed that she couldn't even beat him. I mean, he was nice enough to pick her as VP, but I mean, she is what she is. She is what we see.
Do you know this Tim guy, Matt?
I do.
That's a good one. I feel like he's made comments when you were on before. That's funny.
Yeah, you got Noem too, which you like Noem. Why do you like Noem? I mean, can we have that conversation? Because I don't like Noem. I mean, there's things that she's done, and we're down here in Texas with Abbott as well.
Yeah,
the whole transgender stuff, the Title IX stuff, the land around our military bases stuff. The whole school education and protecting sports things. She literally kowtowed to the NCAA. I mean, there's a lot of things I don't like about her.
Really? Okay, so I don't know enough about her. I've seen her speak, and I've seen some of the stuff she stood by, and I think that her state is doing well. I mean, from the way they spend their money from a business perspective. Sure. So I guess from running a business, kind of like the Trump mentality, that's why I like her. But as I'm seeing some of the comments and what you've said, I don't know her. I remember her kowtowing to the NCAA. But that I think that was a fiscal decision to make sure that there was still dollars pouring in. But I don't know some of the stuff that you mentioned. So that's something I would have to look into. So good points. Ted Cruz is on this list. I don't think he runs for president. I don't think he runs. I think that's a no.
No, he's a rock star right now. I mean, these guys, so this is a funny thing about all these people in politicians, what drives me crazy. They all think they're celebrities. I mean, I watch Matt Gaetz run around the Trump rally in Waco. I mean, he thinks he's a celebrity. It drives you crazy. They love where they're at. And Ted Cruz is not going to lose Texas, right? Ted's going to be senator of Texas as long as Ted wants to be senator of Texas. And when all the stuff really goes down, I think you're going to want to be in Texas. Yeah. I don't think it's going to matter who the president of the United States is at some point. Yeah.
When shit pops off, I always question when people dislike Cruz. I've always when he lost a lot of popularity, I quietly liked him. I like Cruz.
Yeah.
Liz Cheney, I actually do think she runs. I think she's there to get on stage with Trump and try to make him look bad. I think she's a shill for the Democrats. I'm pretty sure that's Liz Cheney. Do you think she runs?
Whoa, got a fight going on out there.
Matt, do you think she runs?
Liz Cheney, yeah.
What about Buttigieg? Pete Buttigieg.
Buttigieg, yeah. Buttigieg will run. I mean, he's the heir apparent. You got to look back at this, and I've talked about this a lot on my program. There were a lot of deals made with Joe Biden back in South Carolina. If you'll remember, Clyburn came in, saved his rear end, but Klobuchar got out of the race. Buttigieg got out of the race. And the multi-billionaire Steyer got out of the race, all in South Carolina. And I think the reason they got out of the race is they knew that 2024 would be the year. And Buttigieg's young. And I mean, The problem with all of this is, even though he's a terrible Secretary of Transportation, it's a resume enhancer to the left. They love losers. So he'll probably be their best candidate.
See, I think the whole the infrastructure situations, and of course the way that East Palestine was handled, I think it makes him unelectable. I think it makes him electable in 20 years. I think people have to forget about the cluster F that just happened. Personal.
Yeah, I don't think anyone took him seriously the first time. I don't think anyone's going to ever take him seriously again.
I don't know how Stacey Abrams is on this list. There's no way. I mean, I can't. I
Still
don't
run. Dude,
well, listen, who put that list together?
People Magazine, of course.
People Magazine. It's the most popular women that eat America or something.
Wait, doesn't she still think she's governor?
Yes.
I think so.
Yes.
You're not allowed to be an election denier. You are not allowed to be an election.
How dare
denier.
you, Dave? How dare you?
Yeah.
At least they didn't change the settings for her morning of the election.
Right.
I don't even know. And now I'm going to sound like a political idiot on this one. Chris Sununu.
Oh, he's the governor of New Hampshire. Or no, yeah, Sununu is. He's the governor of New Hampshire, I think. He's a Republican.
Yeah.
He's pretty popular, right?
He is very popular, and New Hampshire is a weird state, and he believes that little sliver up there is a jumping off point for something. But his dad was a famous Sununu. I think his dad was very high into politics, and I can never remember his dad's first name. But.
Yeah, I know a lot. I mean, a lot of friends who have friends who've, people talk about the migration out of California and New York, and people going to Florida, Texas, things like that, Tennessee, but they're also going to New Hampshire. A lot of them, especially here in the Northeast.
All right, I'm going to skip ahead. We're just going to do yes or no that they run. Tim Scott, I'm going to say yes.
Yes.
Let's see. Rick Scott.
No.
Yeah, he's listed as a likely, and I'm actually saying no as well. Let's see. Mike Pompeo.
Yes.
Yes
as well. I think he's working for a cabinet position if Trump were to win.
I think so.
Mike Pence, I think, is a 100% running.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's see. Ron DeSanta We'll get to him in a sec. Skipping John Bolton, the mustache that killed Christmas. You think Bolton's running?
No.
He wants to. He really badly.
Yeah, but Cheney takes his spot, Dave. That's the thing. Him and Cheney, they'd be in the same bed. Could you? Ugh.
Who wants a mustache ride? Marianne Williamson's already. We already know she's running. I think she's actually an interesting person. She's way too far left, but I think she's decent. I've gotten the opportunity to meet her. I like her. Asa Hutchinson is running.
Yep.
Now that's a rhino to its core from what I've researched about.
No, he's alternative Trump. Didn't you hear what he said? He's alternative Trump.
This is the guy that I was saying before that has no clue that he has no chance, right? And he would never even get a cabinet spot. I don't care who is elected. Like this guy is literally a nobody.
I thought Dave was going to say he had no clue at having no clue. That would be probably close.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, that works.
I mean, Nikki Haley sounds like just what you guys were describing with Kristi Noem, or I should say Kristi Noem sounds like Nikki Haley. We know she's running, obviously. Right. All right, let's get to the big picks. I'm pretty excited, and I know we've got Kelly Harder in the comments right now because I know she's not a fan. So I am I like a lot of the Kennedy family, not all, but I like a lot. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. announced last week he's being propped against, or not propped up, but propped against as a conspiracy anti-vaxxer. I don't know if he's got a chance with the Democrat side because they're going to bury him. They're going to try to bury him for that. What are your thoughts on Robert F. Kennedy Jr.? Who wants to go?
Go ahead, Dave.
I don't have a lot of thoughts on him because I honestly don't know much about him. And I've seen him over the years, but I haven't really paid attention too much to what he actually says and what his stance is. But I have paid attention a little bit over the last 3 years to some of the things that he said and a lot of the things that I actually like and agree with. So if there was a gun to my head and I was forced to choose a Democrat, he'd probably be at the top of the list.
I'll let Matt go, but I'm a fan of Kennedy Jr., but I have some questions that Matt might be able to answer. What's your thought?
I'm 50-50. I like the vaccine. I like the libertarian side of Robert Kennedy. I do. And he's got the name, but the problem is he's really not a Democrat and he's really not a Republican. he's kind of stuck in that middle with some name recognition because of daddy and uncle. But in the end, he's kind of a weirdo on everything outside of COVID and personal responsibility. The guy is a diehard liberal through and through outside of the vaccine. So it's really weird. I mean, he's friends with Roger Stone, who I like, but then again, they're old school guys. So I would classify Robert Kennedy as kind of a neocon meets a classic liberal.
Yeah, and I like the classic liberal side. Now, I actually saw very little downside to him because I have a lot of classical liberal beliefs.
I do too.
But Kelly Harder told me to start watching some of his beliefs on climate change. And he is and I'm good with environmentalists to a point. I can see that, yeah, we should be good to the environment. I think that's a smart thing to do, but not to the sacrifice of economy and way of life, where it actually affects the United States of America. There's clips of him in 2014 and 2015 saying, which is very interesting from a guy that has been ultra free speech the last couple of years, telling people that anybody that's a climate change denier should be arrested and jailed. Yeah. That was his belief in 2014 and 2015. My one point is he's been great at evolving in the last couple of years. And some people call it flip-flopping. I call it evolving. And I'd be curious to see his stances now. That also could be a sheep in wolf's clothing. Or a wolf in sheep's clothing. So I don't know. But I personally would love him to be the Democratic candidate because I can get along with a lot of the beliefs he has, and I'd like to see what his stance is on climate change now.
So I have a question for you both. Like, if we go through this process, is there any chance that he pivots and runs as an independent, as a third party?
I could see that. I mean, that's an interesting concept you brought up because, once again, he doesn't really fit in the Democrat side of things, but he doesn't really fit into the Republican side of things either. I mean, he's kind of just floating around out there with some good stuff and some bad stuff. And it's really an interesting thing. And of course, I mean, name recognition can go a long way. Everybody knows Kennedys. I mean, I don't care how old you are, you know the name Kennedy. I mean, it's Camelot. It brings a lot of mystique, and it brings a lot of history with it. So, I mean, I could see some people being maybe romanticized toward a Kennedy.
I think his vocal cord issue might become a problem, though. I think he's sometimes hard to understand. I've listened to him religiously for a few years, but he's got a gravelly throat with a throat problem, which I think could make people confused and distracted.
But they're used to it now after the last 2 years. So
right, true. But that's, again, his loyal following, and I don't think that's enough for a nomination. I also think that the reason why he doesn't have a chance isn't necessarily because of his stances. The fact that he's gone so hard against not just the vaccine, he was the one that really talked about the gigantic, this was the largest wealth transfer in history. Yes. And when you are playing the game against the biggest dollars in the world, whether it be Amazon, right, Bezos, pharmaceutical, all this, he literally is facing off against the biggest lobbies in the country / world. That's why I don't think he's got a chance, to be totally honest.
Yeah.
Probably true.
Yeah. Look, the one thing about all of this is I think it's very important for the people to send a message to have someone challenge Joe Biden. Like, he can't just, be like, I'm running, and then have, that's it. He's the nominee. Like, he is so bad that there needs to be a challenger. And so that to me is like why I like to see Robert Kennedy throwing his hat in the ring, because at least there's a challenge.
And honestly, I don't know if he cares. If he cared more about climate change, he'd talk more about climate change today. I think right now vaccines are his number one thing. But it's so weird that his wife is Hollywood. I don't know. There's a lot of questions there.
Biden does not deserve to go unopposed.
What's that? Oh yeah, no, that's a fact. All right. So now let's get into the final part of this, and then we'll go through the rest of the topics relatively quick. So this is Mussolini on with Circle Back Sarah. Just kidding. We're going to play this real quick.
So if you're not advising Governor DeSantis, I know that, but what is his political path here? Should he be running away from criticizing Trump? Should he be speaking up for the rule of law?
He's going to get rolled by Trump. Trump's just going to roll him, thumped. I honestly, if I were offering him political advice, I'd tell him to pack up and wait a few years and actually do some of the hard work, which actually includes governing, not just identity and culture war. actually go back and actually start to address some of the insurance issues, start to address some of the costs.
So if you're not advising governor.
I got to start. Let me start on this one. Did he just? There's so many things on that. I'm going to start with he needs to go do the hard work and govern first. Let's start with that. Coming from Gavin Newsom. So this is, let's not forget that he's talking about DeSantis. Right now, to me, for president, the players are from the Democrat side, Gavin Newsom and Joe Biden. And from the Republican side, it's Trump and DeSantis. I don't know if DeSantis will run anymore based on some of the new stuff with the indictment. But the fact that he is telling DeSantis, who has gone from winning 50.5% and then did such a great job to then winning 60+% and govern the shit out of his state, where everybody from California is moving to Texas and Florida, crushed it. He needs to go do some hard work. Coming from that jackwagon is absolutely hilarious. Hilarious to me. It doesn't get any more comical. There's people that shit on the street in your state, for God's sakes. Anyways, I'll let you guys chop that apart.
Well, the homeless issue you hit on, right? So I just did an article for the podcast tomorrow. I always pre-record my podcast for the next day. And the biggest loss of residents was California, by far. 500,000 residents of California left the state to go to Texas and Florida. People vote with their pocketbooks, right? They leave shitholes, pardon my French. So when you've got Gavin Newsom telling Ron DeSantis he should do his job better, Gavin should probably get that bullet train to nowhere somewhere. Saying.
That was one of the most comical interviews I've ever seen. Dave?
Click. Yeah, I mean, Matt's exactly right. I mean, especially when you take into consideration the last week, all the news that came out of California, specifically San Francisco, and he's sitting there in an interview with his legs crossed and his hair slicked back like, he's the second coming of Christ, and California is the shining state in the union. Like, it's far from it. It is way far from it. The shining example is Florida. And so he needs to keep his mouth shut, and he's not going to be running either. Like, not this year. I don't know. He's setting himself up for 2028.
I think so too. I think, Dave, you're right. I mean, I honestly don't think everybody wants him and they want that pretty boy look and the guy, but California, I don't know how much of California would vote for him. Honestly, I mean, they rigged the elections out there with ballot harvesting. If the Republicans ever get their act together and start harvesting ballots out there as well, I think California would be a lot closer than it is. And I think a lot of Californians don't like him.
Look, you have to be pretty unpopular to get a recall started. Yes. And he was almost recalled. So
yes.
Yeah, if Psaki was a real journalist, she would go, well, that's an interesting thing to say, considering, DeSantis was not actually recalled and you were recalled in your own state. So, right. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Now, this is my other post point to what he did there. I think he showed his hand a little bit. Fact is, as we've talked about in the past, the Democrats don't want DeSantis to win or run. They want a Trump matchup because they can run solely on the fact that it's Trump and everybody hates Trump and he's a terrible guy. Look at all, they've already brainwashed everybody to thinking Trump's is Lucifer. So I think he tipped his hand by pretty much saying, oh, no, DeSantis has no chance. No DeSantis. He'll get rolled. He'll get destroyed. I think that was him. I think that's almost this weird sweat move to make sure to try to pile on to DeSantis and say, don't run, wait, because we know we can beat Trump in this next election, no matter who we put up there, if it's me or Biden.
Well, I'm going to tell you, Trump's vulnerable. A lot of people won't say it, and we see what's going on here, and Bill Barr talked about it over the weekend on a lot of these shows about how Trump was the weakest candidate, which I don't believe that. But Trump is vulnerable, and what's going to happen is the left is going to massacre him in the courts. You got Georgia, you've got New York. You're going to see a lot more heat coming down. And they're also, amazingly, but once again, this is the Democrat Party, they're going to go after Trump with the special prosecutor and these classified documents, even though Joe Biden did it. Because once again, I'm going to tell you that we don't live in the America that we used to know. There's two things that you don't want to run into today. You don't want to go to the doctor, and you don't want to be in front of a jury, period. Because the doctor's going to ask you if you're vaccinated, and the jury are all a bunch of millennial idiots running around like the jury master or the lead juror in Georgia who did the whole circuit about how amazing it was that she got to, do all this stuff with Donald Trump and they got to bring him in. We're living in some really, really weird times. And I'm going to tell you right now, DeSantis has more of a chance than people think. He's going to run. And he's going to win some states.
I mean, I hope DeSantis runs. I do think that I think seeing the indictment with Trump and the popularity grow on the Republican side, I don't know if I think DeSantis knows that win, lose, or draw with Trump, he has got 2028 all but locked, 2028 all but locked up, minus the fact that we may not have a country by then. That's the problem. So
here's,
go ahead.
No, so my whole take on everything is, look, whether you like it or not, Trump is a cultural icon, right?
Yes.
He's an outsider. He proved everyone wrong in 2016. Then they attacked him left and right. And now he's facing all this crap with these indictments. And Trump's adage and motto was always like, bad news is good news. It's good publicity, right? So he welcomes all this stuff. He might not like it. It might be stressful for him, but to his eyes, this is an opportunity for him to get his name out there, his brand out there, his voice out there. When's the last time you saw him on Tucker Carlson? Right? Like he's doing an interview tonight for probably the first time in 2 years, right? So he knows how to leverage and take advantage of these opportunities. And you got to remember, the dude got the most votes out of any sitting president after a pandemic that basically ruined his chances. Also, that crisis manipulated to ruin those chances. And he was still there standing at the very end, this close to winning. So you cannot underestimate this man. What I feel about DeSantis is he is in no position to feel pressured to have to announce. I think he's in the best position out of everybody because he is clearly the country's number one governor. You have all this stuff going on with Trump. People can speculate, and he can just sit there waiting in the wings, not attacking. And if Trump starts to slip and fall, or one of these indictments really looks like it has legs and he might be finished, then DeSantis can step up. And you know what? Everyone's going to support him.
Yeah.
Well, and that's a strategy. I mean, that's the Democrat strategy. Alvin Bragg's already given up the goods. They're going to go after him in New York. They're going to go after him in Georgia. They're going to go after him for classified documents. They're just going to go after him because we're living in a time where the Democrats do not feel any fear or any reprisal from the other party, right? So they're going to continue to use the courts. They're going to continue to use juries. I mean, dude, it was a copy and paste Hackett job in New York where they copy and pasted the same charge 35, 34 times because he wrote a check to his lawyer.
Yeah.
You think this is going to get any better? No. I mean, the Democrats just simply don't care, and they're going to continue. And you're right, Dave. I mean, it's P.T. Barnum, right? No publicity is bad publicity. Just spell my name right. Problem is, we're going to watch. I saw an article a couple days ago that really kind of hit home. The left has every lever at their advantage to run. Social media, mainstream media, corporations. You're seeing Bud Light now with the woke and the Dylan Mulvaney's and all the crazy stuff you're seeing. We all sit and we laugh at this stuff about looking at it and seeing it, but the left owns it. They get it all. And what I was saying the other day was Axios came out and said, well, Joe Biden is going to hire influencers for younger kids to help him get reelected. Donald Trump doesn't get that opportunity because we don't get to play on the same field, right? We don't get to use Instagram and Facebook and all these things that allow the left. So they already have a leg up and they're going to continue to use it.
Yeah, but this is, again, Matt, I get that point with the whole influencer thing. I mean, I totally agree with you on everything else. This influencer thing is just proof to me that, and reaffirms that they're completely out of touch with America. Because I talk to young people who are progressive Democrats, my stepsons even, like, and they're like, we're done with this old old guy. Like they're done with the 70, 80-year-old grandpas running for office. They want a younger political generation to step up. So I don't think that's attractive to, influencers might get paid to do it, but I don't think they're going to be able to sell it.
I think they'll get the low hanging fruit. I think it's a targeted. The Democrats know how to market, so I think it will be. I think it'll be helpful. But I think that also tips
to me,
their
right,
hand.
Anthony, to your point, it shows how desperate they.
Yeah, I think they're
really
desperate. It also shows that TikTok is not going anywhere. I think that just shows that
it's going nowhere.
The issues with TikTok was a Trojan horse to put that bill through 1,000,000%.
Oh yeah,
yeah. The new Patriot Act, by the way,
So
Casey.
we went from banning it to 2 weeks later hiring, like an army of IRS agents to help Biden on his social media campaign.
Right.
Casey, you get the quote of the day. Just remember that documentary Independence Day. We defeated the aliens by communicating via Morse code with armies all over the globe. All right, we're going to fly through the last couple topics. That was our big one. I still think at the end of the day, it's probably going to be Trump versus Biden. And I actually think that Trump might win because I believe in good over evil, but it's probably not going to happen. All right, so let's really quick. CBDC is an interesting thing. I'm going to ask this question. We'll go over it real quick. A lot of people keep asking me, is the petrodollar, is the dollar screwed? Are we in a bad place right now? I've had this question a lot. That's the question coming to me. Is the dollar done on a global scale in the next calendar year?
No.
When do you think it's done?
Hopefully never. Here's what I've got a very simple reason for this, and I will tell you why. All over the world, the greenback is a known currency, right? Everybody uses it. You're seeing Saudi Arabia, you're seeing Macron in France and China and Russia and all this stuff, and India with the rupee trying to do all this. But China holds a lot of government debt in America. A lot of government bills. So that would be absolute suicide if the dollar tanked for the world. China's the biggest economy outside of us. And the reason China's the second biggest economy is because of us. We buy a lot of Chinese junk. So I've been saying this on the show now for the last couple weeks. The way you go after China is you repatriate American dollars that aren't in America and you bring manufacturing back. And we stop buying Chinese junk. We could bring China to their knees within 2 quarters of an economic deal by just saying we're not buying any more junk. Why do you think that President Trump's no longer President Trump? He put the tariffs on China. China's running Biden, by the way. Joe Biden is in deep with the CCP. People don't understand that, but he is. China's running us right now. All you have to do, stop buying Chinese junk. The dollar's just fine.
Yeah, I agree. Look, if you, to your point, Matt, you read the tea leaves, like obviously someone is pulling the strings on this man. He is definitely compromised. I said it during the election process that, I mean, it's clear as day. This guy is as compromised as they come probably ever in history. And look, the dollar has risen for the last 10 years. So I doubt that it's going to lose its dominance anytime soon. And I listened to a guy the other day on the radio, and who knows a lot more about this stuff than I do, but he's like, the only country that's going to end the American dominance of the dollar is America. Yeah. Like that's where we're at. Like it's, these things are I'm not discounting these things that are happening with was it BRICS or Berks or whatever the thing is called with this alignment, and using the petrodollar, like going against it with all these other, Saudi Arabia, all that stuff. Like I'm not discounting that stuff. That stuff we definitely should be paying attention to. But look, I mean, it's the dollar. Like it's still the primary deal, and it's not going to change anytime soon. So. Yeah.
So I
agree with you. I've been saying that my friends and I have this back and forth Facebook chat all the time. I have another conservative friend, and these are all college buddies of mine. The other guy is liberal. And, my friend Dave and I, we always talk about how we got to stop talking about being made in America and actually like start living it. Right. Yes. Yeah. And it's the number one thing. Like we need an American manufacturing revolution in this country, and we will clearly be unstoppable. Like we will restore everything that's great with this country, and China will be a second thought.
Yeah. No, I agree. But I do think, and I'm the same way. I keep saying it's not going anywhere unless if we have another 4 years of a Democrat president like Joe Biden, I do think it's at risk. I think the CBDC is a big deal, AKA Fed Now. Matt and I talked a little bit about before the show. So that was signed into order March 15th and begins in July. That's essentially being able to tie all of our finance to the government. The government will then be able to take out money when they want, put in money when they want, and it's using it a very similar blockchain system as a crypto that is fully controlled by the government. How that could have an effect on the dollar is the fact that we are now dependent, where the dollar is not used as much in America, and then you've also got ties to China. So there was a statement over here that said 2 to 3% is the yuan, and the dollar is still over 90%. That takes a long time to change. But if we continue with this kind of administration, I answer the question, no, the dollar's not going anywhere. If we have 4 more years of Biden, I think in those 4 years, we are at a huge risk of the dollar going somewhere. That's my statement on that.
Well, you've seen what's happened in the last 2.5 years, how quickly it has happened. 2 things America has to do: cut spending right now, cut spending. And the thing that America does that it just drives me crazy, if Saudi Arabia isn't going to be our friend, if they want to be mad, or if Europe wants to be mad, stop sending them our money.
Yeah.
I mean, there's an easy way that you can handle this problem, and that's what Trump did. I mean, that's why everybody liked Trump. Trump was very blunt, but he understood. Why everyone hated him. he understood how the world worked, right, Dave? He understood, and he would say to Europe today, "Look, if you want to be China's friend, that's fine, but we're not going to put NATO on your doorstep. Good luck. We bailed your ass out in World War II. We ain't doing it again, right?" And that's the thing. All these people don't understand. America protects the world. If we just finally say, hey, we're not giving you money, we're not giving you money, and we're not giving you money, we bring a lot of the money back into America for number one. But if we cut our spending, and I know a couple people have said this on my show, and I see Casey's been talking about it today, lower the damn corporate tax rate and watch businesses go crazy. Watch the tax base grow. We will be making, electronics. We will be making everything in America again. We do need that industrial revolution. We need that second revolution where companies come back here, because we're running into times where we're not a global society anymore. We cannot count on China or Russia or people like that. The biggest thing that Biden did was he empowered Russia. I mean, look how rich Russia's getting now. We put all these sanctions on them, and they're making all this money because guess what? Saudi Arabia, China's driving up all the oil prices, which is putting money in Putin's pocket every day. It's crazy. I mean, we got people who have no idea how to lead and have no skill set in that running America. We have the dumbest of us running America right now.
I do have to say what I didn't want to, I wanted to move on, but this is an interesting statement. And you guys talked about we need an industrial revolution in America. I actually don't think that's fiscally possible. What I think is we need to pull things out of China and find other countries to do business with that are not beholden to China. Just because our manufacturing, it is impossible for us to sustain pricing if we decided to make all of our microchips in the United States of America. It doesn't work. Philippines is a great example of a country that we can utilize in order to set up American-based businesses that use labor from countries that would still make those people on a living wage and still keep the prices of our products. I mean, if we made the iPhone in the United States, it'd be $7,000, $10,000.
Look,
right?
Anthony, you're absolutely right. Right, like it. Just like the whole energy thing, right? It should be a whole hands-on approach, right?
Right.
The mistake that we're making is we're buying all of our product. Literally everything is made in China.
Yeah.
We're buying it from an enemy that we are literally in a Cold War with, when we should be buying goods and services from companies or countries that are our allies.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, 100%. All right, we're gonna speed through. So we got that. So China, quick story. China warned Musk against promoting lab leak theory and said, if you continue to do this on Twitter, that we will. By the way, what was his new name on Twitter briefly? It was, God, he's funny. I'm sorry. I like him so much. Did you see what he changed his name on Twitter to temporarily?
I did, and I can't remember it either.
Harry Balls.
Yes.
HARRYBOLZ. He changed his name to Harry Balls.
But this is my biggest problem with Elon Musk. Like, I'm a big fan too, right? And he's saying these things, and he's absolutely right. But at the same time, 2 days ago, he tweets about he's building this mega factory in Shanghai, China.
Right.
Like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
And that's why
This is exactly what we just spoke about the last 10 minutes.
Right.
But didn't he say that none of those products would be imported to the United States? It's strictly to make for the Chinese.
It doesn't
people.
matter. Like, you are giving them an opportunity to steal intellectual property. Like, you don't think they're going to like try to take advantage of that situation? Of course they are.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. But anyway, so they've warned him. They said, here's the deal. Well, you don't do business. If you continue to, which makes me believe even more that the lab leak, you can't disagree with it now when they're saying, look, you keep this theory going. Do work here. None. You get out. You've been here too long. Anyways, so that's it. Last thing, and we're going to end on this story. I just think that's interesting. So we saw what happened in Louisville, and incredibly sad. Obviously, again, AR weapon used, which is an Armalite rifle, to be clear, for all the, whatever. A police officer, I think, was killed.
Yes.
We live in there's a moral decay. Obviously, we talk about all the issues, we talk about all the crime, but there is the question, because we have a lot more technological advances. We live in a world that is easier. We're allowed to be lazier, or all these different things. Do we live in a more dangerous society than we did 30 years ago, or is there just more cameras?
Yes, because there's no consequences anymore.
Interesting. Hey, what do you think?
The participation trophies, the radical DAs, the theft, the woe is me, the victim mentality has completely decayed our society.
Dave, what do you think?
So, I listen to my, my parents and my elders, and, you hear people talk about, oh my gosh, what's happening in this world? Like, we're doomed. But they said that 30, 40, 50 years ago,
Yes,
too. They were
did.
saying the same thing.
Yeah.
It's different, right? It's just different circumstances. It has our, are we becoming somewhat morally bankrupt? I mean, we've seen polls recently, right, about patriotism and faith, and all these things in America are on a steep decline. So you can't ignore those facts. So I think it's a mixed bag. I would say yes and no, in certain ways. I mean, I also feel like we've never been, in the history of mankind, there's never been more opportunity and than there has ever been, in terms of being able to move forward in a way that can actually heal humanity and unite us, right? But it's like we're at a crossroads here, and it's going to be really interesting to see which road we go down.
I definitely think about 10, 15 years ago, we were in maybe pre-recession, 2005, maybe even 2012, whatever, pre all the BLM stuff. I think we were in a better place then, because we had similar niceties and the ability to do stuff. I do think that cameras make a difference. I think that we see everything that happens. We see these mentally ill people because of all the street cameras just going up and punching people in the face or shooting people in the middle of the street. Brooklyn Patriot, friend of ours, friend of mine. His page, you'll see all this police footage of what's happening. The question is, are we only? And I do believe that it's been happening for a long time. We just don't see it. I do have one problem with the way that the reporting of the Louisville shooting. I find it odd, and I find it almost a setup and a bait, where they are referring to the guy as, they did the whole typical white black thing, where this was a young gentleman that was an athlete that had multiple concussions and all this stuff.
Right.
He was a piece of shit. Like, I wish I feel like the media perpetrated they talk better about white shooters than they do about black shooters. I have a problem with it. I also think mass shootings is not a white problem. I think it just so happens to be what makes the news. I've talked about that last week, but I think it's odd that they chose to go he had multiple concussions. He was a star athlete, yada, yada, yada. I did not like that being presented.
Well, and once again, he was a former employee, so he had just lost his job. So once again, consequences, actions, what's happening. We have a generation of young people who have been over-medicated and overstimulated by violence and by screens. And we talk about, you talk about all the cameras, but I saw an article the other day where the average human being in their life, if you were born after 2000, I think, or 1995, you're going to spend over half of your life in front of a screen. That to me is crazy. I mean, when I was a kid, you went down to the churchyard, you played, in the churchyard with the neighbor kids, and we didn't have internet. We had 3 TV stations when you were in the country, and Yeah, less stimulation. Today, there's so much stimulation. There's so much information. It's an overload, and these kids are on drugs, and they're on Ritalin and antidepressants and high ADHD type stuff. And I think it's very tough.
Yeah.
What's very tough for the kids these days. And so when they see, like this young man, when you see failure, you lash out.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
I mean, he told his parents he's going to, he left all the signs, which is crazy to me. He told a lot of people he's going to go shoot up the bank, and nobody did anything. Again,
yeah, nothing too late. And this is another interesting thought to me, where people, because I always say, well, none of the gun laws that you propose would have changed this. However, he bought the gun 6 days instead of 8 days before he did the shooting, whereas there are some states that have they're proposing the 7-day wait period. I find that really interesting, that just so happened to be the 6 days instead of 7 days. So some laws would have prevented this instance. Granted, I'm sure he could have found one a different way. But yeah, I don't know. It's just, we live in a garbage world, or a garbage country right now when stuff like that happens. But I want to disagree with this statement, and then I'm going to wrap up and let you guys finish up. The world has gone to shit. It was great 30 or 40 years ago. I think we're forgetting that there was a time and a place that us three could not even go on the subway in New York before Giuliani. Right. So I think we go in waves. I think we're forgetting that there was a very unsafe period of this country in the 80s, early 90s. I don't think this is much different than then. Again, we see it all on camera. I think we're forgetting that we still have an opportunity to be in a great country, but because of the 24-hour media cycle, that is the biggest issue that we truly have. And I do think the fact, like Dave said, Dave and Matt, we don't punish criminals. We don't, we could be in such a high, the thing is, we have so much more potential and we're not living it. We have all these ways of catching criminals and we don't live in it. We have all these ways of properly punishing and we don't live in it.
Right. And it's not only that we don't take advantage of our potential as a society, but it starts with the individual, right? Yeah, and this is what people are missing. And this is to Matt's point before, like all these dopamine hits with the screen time, and getting kicked in the teeth and being willing to dust yourself up and get back up. Like these things are these like little like lessons and nuggets of life are being not taught. They're missing these lessons, this younger generation. And so when they get fired from the bank, it's like all is lost and they lose it and they go in and do something tragic like that. Like it starts with the individual. Like this is why, our community and the event that we're doing is all about self, family, community, and country. Like that is the glue that holds us all together as a nation.
Yeah. And I forgot to mention the fact that gas prices are jacking up right now ever since they halted OPEC. Gas prices in Texas just went up about 50 cents. My last thing for you guys is, again, I want to leave this GoFundMe with Sherry Lynn Clark. If you guys didn't hear the beginning of the episode, one of our longtime followers passed away about a month and a half ago, and family could use a little bit of help. Huge supporter. She always helped us out, and these are the rare times I want to post this, is I know she could use the help. So there it is. It's also on the Truth page. You could see her wearing her Cashley Kelly shirt as well. That's all I've got. Dave, I'm going to give Dave the chance to really quick talk about the event coming up, but we're talking about finances. Kevin Freeman is also going to be speaking at the event as well. He is from the Economic War Room. We've got honestly, it is a stacked lineup on top of David Webb from Fox, on top of Peter McCullough, on top of Chad Prather. It's going to be a lot of fun. So I really, really encourage you guys to go check out the website. GreatAmericanSummit.com, GAS23 gets you 10% off at checkout. And we are going to have a company that is going to be broadcasting it. So it might not be for free, but it's going to be out there. So if there are sponsorships that want to come in and talk to us, talk to us. And Matt, I'm sure I'm going to talk to you still about AFN. I know it's going to be tough. I'm going to sneak by and see if I can, make this an AFN event. I'll come by the studio. Dave, final words?
Just going to echo, reiterate what Anthony said. You'll probably have a virtual option too, so you can watch from the comfort of your home. The summit, it'll probably be around the $47 range, something like that. So we'll probably roll that out towards the end of the month, so you can pick that up. But if you're if you're within driving distance of Dallas, Texas, so or you want to jump on a flight and come out and support us and support the good cause that we're raising money for our veterans, first responders, as well as at-risk youth. One of our big beneficiaries this year is Carry the Load. So you're going to be able to get educated, you're going to get inspired, you're going to get motivated, and plus you're going to be able to make an impact just by buying a ticket. So if you can, join us there. I know we would all love to see you there. And
if anybody is Dallas area that is going to do the Carry the Load the week before Memorial Day, I will be doing the walk. So you'll see, let me know, message, we'll find a way to meet up. I'll have you help me hand out flyers. So for the event. So make sure you let me know.
Next week, let's throw up our Give, Send, Go page too. So you can also find that on the greatamericansummit.com website. You can, if you want to donate, $10, $20, $50, whatever it is, to the mission here to raise money for our vets and first responders, we would appreciate that as well.
And I want to give our followers a shout because I just looked and it looks like in the last 3 hours or 4 hours since I posted about Sherry, you guys have all donated. I saw some people saying it. We've donated over $500. So that's awesome. So thank you guys.
Awesome.
It's good stuff. Matt, final words, and where can people find you?
Well, I'll tell you my final words. And I'm a storyteller by trade. And my grandfather used to tell me stories all the time. And my grandfather lived through the Great Depression. And we talk about America and we talk about tough times, but I could tell you stories of tough times because I remember them very well. And we talk about America all the time, the 70s with the gas embargo, the oil embargoes and whatnot. I still believe America's best days are ahead of us, even though we see it and we go through different cycles of whatnot. We're not at the Great Depression. I mean, the stories that I heard from my grandfather were quite literally terrifying. I mean, America is a lot better off than that. I still bet on America. I believe that it's the greatest country on the planet that gives entrepreneurs and people like us the ability to go out and make change. I mean, we're warriors for the cause, and we still have to be. Somebody's got to be, even if the cards are stacked against you in the deck and on social media, we all got to get the word out there, and we all got a lot of great listeners that want to hear that word. So that's my last word. You can find me, Voice of the Working Man podcast, Monday through Friday, everywhere podcasts can be found, at Matt Locke Radio on all of my social media. So there you go.
Awesome. And since you said the greatest days are in front of us, I'm checking to see if Tucker Carlson has got Trump on yet, but I would encourage everybody to go watch that. You got Rand Paul on Tim Pool tonight. A lot of good conservatives out there. So we'll see that, and we'll see you guys out there. Keep living the dream, ladies and gentlemen. Be the change you wish to see in the world, and go to greatamericansummit.com. GAS23 is your discount. Take it easy. God bless. Have a great night. Deuces.